are.
Where?
Number 3.
Number 3.
We got the 3.
That comes after 2.
Last I checked.
Yes, it does.
Awesome. So welcome to Gus and Jerry Unleashed. I'm Gus.
I am Jerry.
And here we are. And with producer extraordinaire AJ behind the camera. Thank you very much.
Thanks, AJ.
Thank you for joining us again. Now, we before we dip into the shallow end, the center of the plate, and the deep end, like we normally do, we have to catch up on the cultural end. AJ, grab my phone over there, will you? And we forgot a very important culture in the the Northeast Ohio, Cleveland area that provides great culinary delights. Our friends.
We did. We forgot them.
Who do we forget?
Those doggone Greeks.
We forgot the Greeks.
Son of a gun.
All right. We wanted to talk about, so we're gonna do a little fixing here. Insightful minds. First of all, I wanted to say that's where AJ is working. Right? Did I get it right? I think I used another term last time. That was another mistake we had to correct. But as far as the Greeks go, I had a friend of mine who sent me one too. Go ahead.
So the Greeks, the culture, amazing in Cleveland, and a couple of really great gyro places. One, the Greek guys, I believe they are on Pearl Road in Cleveland. Amazing gyros if you're a gyro fan. I highly recommend them. And then probably one maybe a little bit more known, maybe not, Nikos. Nikos in North Royalton.
I've been there. Yeah, the gyro guys. They're on Pearl Road, right?
They are.
That's who you're thinking about.
That's who I'm thinking about.
The gyro guys, or Euro guys, if you like.
Euro.
And then Nikos.
Nikos.
Yeah.
And Nikos branches out beyond gyros. They do a lot of other things. They get great pizza. You have some amazing duck wings. It's really a great place to go. And not that I'm partial, but pretty damn good beer too.
All right. Then.
Oh yeah.
All right. That's okay. Now, my friend Jim, who is Greek, as Greek gets, and a great guy, I asked him, hey, you would know. People ask me about Italian food. They ask him about Greek food. Papayuros in Akron is his favorite. So you want to go get a good gyro? Oh, man, I love gyro. I love with the tzatziki sauce and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. That's delicious. So thank you.
Now I'm hungry.
I know.
AJ, go get some gyros.
Could you? Thank you. And these off. There we go. So we for if it's the first time for you joining us, we do the shallow end where we ask something a little bit lighter. We're going to have some fun with that. Then we do the center of the plate, cultural events. That's what we'll do our interviewing or different topics that we feel are culturally
relevant.
What's the word? Relevant. Thank you. I'm doing a podcast.
Not relatives, relevant.
Yeah. Okay. And the deep end where we dig a little bit deeper and go into some further questions that really go a little further into our soul, which is good stuff. So
let's dive in.
Shallow end.
Shallow end.
And it is the saints. A saint. If there is any saint that you could meet face to face, who would it be and why?
Well,
Take it away.
I'm kind of partial to a saint, and I hope I pronounce this correctly. Many of you may know him out here, Dismas, Dismas. He is the one thief that was crucified with Christ, who asked, or who actually couldn't understand why Christ was being crucified, because Christ did nothing wrong in his mind. But yet he was paying for his sins on the cross. He had whatever kind of life he had to be crucified for it. So he asked the Lord, the day that you enter into your kingdom, please remember me. And the Lord said, on this day you will be with me in my kingdom. So I'm kind of partial to that because I feel like a thief in life. I feel like I've just taken from the Lord, not given back what I want to give back to him. And I'm hoping that when my time comes, I have at least a moment to just say, Lord, remember me when you enter into your kingdom. So Saint Dismas is actually in my funeral file. I want him to be recognized as just what we're talking about here. And so he is my favorite saint.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's powerful stuff. I mean, and it speaks to the common thread with a lot of saints, the redemption story.
Yeah.
The ultimate redemption. If this guy who was bad enough to admit that he was wrong and say, we deserve this punishment. This guy didn't do anything wrong.
That's right.
He doesn't deserve this, but we do. And I believe you. And,
Yeah.
and the Lord says to him, this day you'll be with me in paradise.
Yeah, and he was prompted to say that because his fellow partner in crime was agitating him, saying, "What do you care what he's up on this cross for?" And I told basically, "Be quiet.
Yeah.
He did nothing wrong. We deserve our punishment."
Didn't the other thief, and this might be just from Luke's gospel, because I know there are different gospels, different versions, they say some different things. Wasn't it in Luke's gospel where the one thief was saying, "Hey, if you're the son of God, take yourself down from this cross."
That's right.
And
That's right.
And the other one's like, "No, hang on a minute."
Yeah.
Something. I mean, when you're in that, it's hard to imagine being in such a position.
No, can't.
Right? It's like,
Can't.
holy cow! It's
Cannot.
like, and to be there and say, "You know what? Nah, this is him. This is the guy. I know it. I feel it in my heart. Remember me."
Remember me.
And he's just like, "You better believe it." So that's
That's what it says on my gravestone.
Powerful.
Remember me when you
excellent.
come into your kingdom.
That's great
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Well, that's gonna be tough to top. I should have had you go second. That's really good. So I was thinking about. I had three saints in mind, but I'm only going to touch on one, or go into one. I'll touch on all three because there was, of course, Saint Peter, who was with Christ, but of course so was Saint Demas, and then another one, Saint Augustine of Hippo, because that's my namesake saint, and he was one of the earliest doctors of the church. Again, same story. The guy was a runaround. He was a goof, but he was very, very smart, and he redeemed himself, changed his ways. I think Saint Ambrose helped convert him, and he put together volumes and volumes of work that still exist to this day, the Confessions and the City of God. But the one I landed on, because while Saint Augustine, he helped shape the intellectual and doctrinal foundations of the church, it was Saint Francis of Assisi that shaped its ethical and emotional life. And through a lot of lasting legacies, not the least of which, of course, is the Franciscan monks. But he was the guy that, he was born wealthy. He was born Giovanni di Pietro di Bernardone. Now I'm reading that. I didn't remember that.
Holy cow.
Yeah. But he had a nickname, Francesco, So they call him, "Hey, Frank." So Saint Frank, he disavowed all of that to lead a life of poverty. And his radical embrace of evangelical poverty was really something that was, it was influential, because at that time, this is in the 12th century, and the church was a very powerful force politically at the time. They owned a lot of real estate. They're very powerful. And here's this guy saying, give all your money away. He even told one of his followers that took like some money from somebody for something. And he's like, "Put that money in your mouth and go drop it into that pig poop." And Google it. I don't think they said it quite like that, but but that's the thing. Francis took a lot of things like Saint Augustine's works and a lot of the earlier works of the church, and he made it into something that was easier for people to digest, easier for people to understand. He converted himself upon seeing a leper, gave him his clothes. He was the Canticle of the Sun is the work I was trying to think of, where he spoke of spirituality in the church in more layman's terms, so people could understand. He really was truly not just a man of the people, but he was a man of the underdog. And I think that there's something about the foundation of our faith that, we recognize ourselves as underdogs. And in that regard, I see myself as Francis. And no matter what I acquire or accomplish in this world, it is only through the grace of God. he knew that. And he met with, so there was the Fifth Crusade, and the Muslims and the Christians were fighting viciously against one another. And he crossed enemy lines with a buddy of his, this guy named Brother Illuminato or something like that. He had these cool names. They get caught by the Muslims, they get beat up, but they don't get killed. And then they end up going before the sheik, who instead of normally he'd just have them killed right away. They stayed with him for, I want to say, several days or a week, where they had very calm, polite, but intensely spiritual discussions about their respective faiths. And while the sheikh was not converted, he let him go back safely, and they parted with an understanding and with a mutual respect. Something that is sorely lacking in our world today.
Yeah,
but I think he definitely sets that example. And I call him I think it was a sultan, that he met. But anyway, he was an amazing guy. And for a guy who shunned money, who shunned fame, who shunned the spotlight, who shunned all of that, he's probably the most famous saint of them all.
Yeah, he really is. At least it was quoted.
Yeah, right. And a lot of his prayers still being that are attributed to him are said all over the world every single day.
Absolutely.
So I really love Saint Francis of Assisi.
I think one of my quick prayers from Saint Francis is "Make me a shadow of your peace." Just a real quick prayer. Yeah, I like to reflect that if I can.
Thy will be done.
Yeah, will be done.
Excellent. There it is.
All right.
So if you have thoughts, if you want to tell us who your favorite saint is, you can reach out to us on Facebook, on X at Gus and Jerry Unleashed. Also, we have our Gmail address, Gus and Jerry, at gmail.com. I think it's Gus and Jerry Unleashed at gmail.com. But anyways, thank you. Yeah. And let us know what you think. Let us know if you have questions, if you have anything that you'd like to add. Be a part of this conversation with us. That was very interesting. I really enjoyed it. Now, let's usher in the center of the plate.
All right.
And this topic is one that has cultural significance presently, but I also believe that it is one that is as steeped in history as anything human, and that is on being a man. And being a man in this current environment, in this current culture, in the United States, or in the world, if you like, in this decade of the 2020s that has had so much turmoil, so much upheaval, so much change already. Let's talk about it. What is it? What is it all about? What is being a man today?
A damn good question. Yeah. It really is. Being a man today is more difficult than it's ever been before. And I'm sure, just like you, as you were raised from your father and your uncles and whoever was a presence in your life, you stood up for things. You stood up for what was right. You let very few things get by you that weren't right as far as you knew it from your family history, either or your whoever taught you, or even your biblical background. And today, to stand up for those things is very, very difficult. Although I don't deviate from it too much, I may sidetrack it every now and then because the culture today is so indifferent. I'm afraid to offend anybody. But for me, no, I'm going to hold my position as a man. I'm going to do the best I can to defend my manhood. I may not do it well, but I'm going to do it when time calls to do it. And I'm still trying to set that example for my family, and including my wife, who's tougher than I am. But neither here nor there. She thinks she wears the pants, and she does wear the pants. That's right. Yeah. So okay, correction there. So, but really and truly, if we're not going to stand up and be men, what in the world is the next generation going to do? So we have to hold our ground. We have to stick by the things that are right, that we believe that are right. I'm not saying I'm right. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm perfect. That's not what I'm saying.
But it's standing for something.
Standing for something. You have to stand and believe, especially when it reflects on your children and your grandchildren. Because really, their world, when they look at their world, there's not many things they can look at, I don't think, and hold a position of say, gee, I really stand with that, whatever that is. So I want them to stand with me. They don't have to follow me. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that if 1 and 1 equals 2, until somebody proves to me that it doesn't equal 2, it's going to equal 2.
Right.
And that's what I'm talking about manhood. You've just got to take a position and hold it. Not easy. Not easy today.
No.
What about you?
It's not, and you brought up some great points. Being a man, when in the days of my youth, I was told of what it means to be a man.
What does it mean?
Yeah, and that's a Led Zeppelin lyric. Now I've reached that age, I try to do all those things the best I can to be a provider, a protector, and in some ways a professor.
Mm-hmm.
These are the things that I think are the hallmarks of being a man, but I look at it through the eyes of being a father. But not every man is a father, and that's perfectly fine. There are some men who choose religious orders. There are some men that just choose the single life. And not everyone who does it for exclusively selfish reasons. There are a lot. So, but I have to speak from my own experience. I think that when we look at, we want to embrace, there are new sensitivities. We are compelled to be better communicators today, and I think that that's evolved. As far as communicating what's in our heart and our soul, I mean, that's what brought birth to this podcast to begin with, is the ability to do that, instead of, you figure it out, and now it's, hey, let's try to figure it out together. So I think that there's real value to that. And I think that the better we can communicate with one another, communicate with our families, not just lay down a law my way or the highway. In my opinion, there's a time and a place for everything. The best path to spiritual fitness is for a man to be able to lead with both conviction and compassion. And no matter how high up on any kind of scale a man gets, that there must always be a deference to a higher power. And we all both know who ours is. Now, some people, may not have gotten there yet, or they get there different ways, or they have a different path. And I want to be respectful and open to all of that. But something greater than themselves must be what a man defers to, no matter what leadership position they're in, if they're going to lead with both conviction and compassion. Otherwise, when left to my own devices and I'm just winging it,
not a
bad
good choice.
things happen. No. There was a guy, but for the most part, we find men in those positions of leadership, be it in politics, in police, and firefighters, this sort of thing. And I think that, that's kind of the natural order, but I think it is just as natural that there are exceptions to that order. I mean, there are examples, and we must have this variety, otherwise life would be terribly boring, of women that have been extraordinary leaders. And you may argue there are some today, there have been others in the past. It is not a steadfast rule, but there is an author named Damon Runyon. He was the guy who wrote the books that were the inspiration for Guys and Dolls. He was a Hearst newspaper baseball writer, and he had a lot of quotes on gambling and life and, being the underdog. And basically, he could speak from that male perspective. You could see him in the hat with the press tag in the side chomping on a cigar. But he said, the race is not always to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, but that is the way to bet. And the way I look at it is, generally there are roles that have been provided through biblical truths, through the course of history, through evolution, that have shown women to be outstanding nurturers and keepers of the home. And if you're in the home, you dare not question her authority there. but in another sense, when it's come to political leadership and that it's been by and large men, but it doesn't always have to be. But I think we're more wired that way as guys. But again, we have to defer to a higher power. Otherwise, we take that for granted. And as men, I think we're the biggest abusers of power as well.
Well, I think if you talk about toughness, typically guys are looked at as the tough ones. That's not true today, by any means. When's the last time you were at a grocery store and you saw a mom with 4 children strolling a baby and handling 4 backpacks over her shoulders,
right,
and doing grocery shopping at the same time? Go try that. There's no way in hell I could do that.
I couldn't pull it off.
Hell
either.
no.
No. And, and I think that there was a guy, I think his name is Robert Fulghum. He authored this book that I love called Everything I Learned About Life. Everything I need to know about life I learned in kindergarten. Somebody help me with that one. I'm pretty sure I got it close to right. But, he said everything that he learned, these are the things, be nice, don't hit people, share, look both ways for crossing the street, and be curious, and add a little art to your life, have some fun. I believe he also said somewhere in one of his books that it's like a guy and a woman are riding a tandem bike. And the guy is steering the bike, and he's looking straight ahead. He's more vertically oriented. And the woman is behind, and, she's equally participating. But she has the advantage of being able to see everything on the periphery, everything else that's going on. We're this, and they're everything else. Yeah. And that's why I think God has, made men, and women, because we are just such amazing complements for one another. And I think that ultimately, and this goes back to Robert Fulghum too, I mean, it's a matter of treating every single individual with dignity and respect.
Well, you just said it. The one thing about being a strong man is don't forget your manners.
Yeah.
Don't forget to respect people. Please and thank you, and can I help you, and any of that type of stuff goes a long way. That's what being a man really is today, or should be.
Yeah,
So.
Yeah, and when, and in a political sense, there have always been people who have fought for fairness, but when you're fighting for fairness, that's one thing. After a while, when people lobby and there's money and there's power involved, it always gets distorted. And the one example I keep thinking of is when they changed the test for firefighters and they brought different standards for women firefighters so they could have a better shot of making the crew. But yet, victims of fires haven't changed.
No,
they weigh the same. All the other things are the same. So now that's starting to change a little bit. And in the military, it's like, hey, here's the standard. If we're going to have a standard, and if it's a woman and she can pass it, God bless her.
Amen.
Good.
Amen.
But there
have.
Yeah. So that was the other end of it. Where sometimes because if it works well. It works well when we understand it. And when we understand it, not on an intellectual level, but on a spiritual level, how we walk this road together as women and men, but we both have special general talents, gifts, things that we've been given to by God that we bring to the table to complement each other. That's one thing. But when people start trying to legislate it, that's when everything gets messy.
That's a whole other story.
It's
messy. Real simple for me. My wife told me, if you want to be a man, just listen to me. I said, okay. All good.
And that's why you are the wiser of the two. But so now we get to I think we've taken the center of the plate pretty good. Do you have anything else you want to add to that?
No, I think that was really good, because I'm sure there's a lot of men out there struggling today.
Yeah,
with what it means to be a man. So.
I think that so I guess my only thing in closing would be the man you feel you need to be in your heart, and if you're spiritually fit, the rest will come naturally. And if it doesn't come right away, it'll come eventually.
Amen.
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 So speaking of men and men in our lives that have influenced us in a positive way, mentorship is our deep end topic of the day. How are we doing over there, AJ? How are we doing on time?
3 minutes.
Oh, great. Okay, cool. Well, we have 3 minutes till he has to reset the camera, but we're going to take a little more than 3 minutes in this because it definitely warrants it. In the intro, what I forgot to mention was that is there a man in your life, a father, a coach, a priest, a neighbor, a leader who helped shape how you carry yourself today? And absent that, how would we figure it out anyway? So let's talk a little bit about mentorship.
Absent that, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, because those folks kind of bring you to where you are, and for me, it's a lot of folks. I'm not going to go down the whole list, but I'll give you some generalities, right? So my uncles were very influential in my life because they came from a very poor background and became very successful businessmen. And that was something for me to watch growing up, coming out of what we used to call, what was it called? Now it escapes me. And I'll remember it in a moment, but it was basically the backwoods of Pennsylvania, West Virginia, with nothing going on and very poor environment. And they built quite an industrial manufacturer of tires. It's called the Fayette Tire Company. And they were across Pennsylvania for a long time. And it was my father, of course. My father was my father. My father was a skilled upholsterer. He moved to Cleveland for better opportunities. He did not want to be part of that business at all. He wanted to be on his own. So he was skilled upholsterer. He could sew a couch, fix a leather chair, scratch in a cabinet. He was really good at all that. There was my Uncle Ted. My Uncle Ted was my dad's brother. And what I liked about him the most was he was a pure outdoorsman. And if you're from the Pennsylvania, West Virginia area, being outdoors is, if you're ever indoors, you're lucky. So you're probably outdoors more than you are anything else, right? So he was a total woodsman. He knew how to hunt, fish, made his own guns, did amazing things with, he had 3 daughters, and he taught them as well as to how to do things. And unfortunately, he was killed by one of his own guns. He was experimenting with a hair trigger, which was just popular at that time.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it went off and, took his life. Yeah. So it's very, very,
terrible.
yeah, very sad. So, but all these men were just amazing men in my life. They were hardworking and very respectful of each other. And my family was all kind of commingled back there. So my mom's family knew my dad's family and so on and so forth. So we had a lot of that crossover going on back there. But talk about coming up tough and coming up in a world that, you don't know what's out there beyond the backwoods of Pennsylvania, West Virginia. It was kind of touching for me that I had those men in my life, especially when I had a brother who, couldn't teach me much. And my dad he was working 3 jobs at the time. So I had a combination of guys who kind of put my life together, which was an amazing thing. And then as silly as this sounds, and I don't think it's silly at all, there's also the mentorship that we develop in Christ. Christ is probably the toughest man ever walked the earth. Yeah. He told the truth no matter what. So I'm very grateful to all these men. Now, most of my family has passed away. Mm-hmm. My aunts and my uncles, there's a few left. Lots of cousins and second cousins, so on and so forth. But I'll never forget how hard they worked. So they showed me how to work hard. It wasn't necessarily physical. It could be mental. It could be physical, but it could be both.
Mental toughness is
sometimes worse.
Of your mentors, who would you say taught you most about being? I mean, obviously you'll say your father, perhaps, but about being a father and being a leader.
I'd have to say it's my Uncle Ken.
Okay.
My father was excellent at it, but my Uncle Ken was a little bit more. For me, he was a little bit more rounded off, if you will. And I think it was just because he came from my dad came from a poor background too. It wasn't like he had any privileges. He didn't. Mm-hmm. But my uncle seemed to figure it out and worked hard to figure it out and to become so damn successful like he was. And the place I was thinking of was called The Patch, is where we lived. Mm-hmm. And it was just that, a patch. Maybe a patch of land, that was about it. But I think my Uncle Ken and probably my dad, combination of the two, when I would watch them just go after life and nothing stop them. I mean, literally, they just came from nothing. They just didn't have anything. I mean, there was not much to have back then. And these families had big families because most of them lived on farms and they needed farm hands to run the farm. So that's why they had big families. I think my mom she had two siblings that died early. I think remaining might have been 8 or 9. and my dad had over 12, 13. I can't even remember how many that he had. So you just, you were born and you went to work. Pretty much what
Yeah.
it was. Pretty much what it
You
was.
started contributing right away.
Now, my dad was a very angry guy, and that anger was passed on to me. It took me almost a lifetime to overcome my anger. And I don't even know why I was angry half the times. I couldn't even tell you. I would say 20 plus years ago, I overcame it. And very, very rarely does it even enter into my world. Prior to that, if you pissed me off, I was coming after you. Just the way it was. Didn't matter who you were.
I'm glad I didn't know that version. I'm glad I did not know that version of
Yeah,
you.
I would say,
And yeah,
yeah. But that's how it was. That's how we were. I don't know why he was angry. He might have been angry at life. He might have been angry because he wasn't financially,
some
whatever.
people got a short fuse.
He had a short fuse.
Yeah.
And I had my brother who had all those problems, and that didn't help. And then he left home and came to Cleveland, a totally strange place, and that anger just escalated. Quite honestly, as a child, I was often beat by my father. Didn't stop me from loving him, but as much as I didn't want to, I never touched my children or my wife or anything like that. However, I was angry and could be. It's about 20 some years ago, I finally got a grip on it. I said, I got to stop. It's like coming to Christ. If you're going to, like the thief, like St. Dismas or even the other thief that was crucified with him, if you're going to be a thief, maybe one day you'll come to terms and you'll find Christ and you'll stop being a thief. Well, for me, that's what happened. I came to terms with my anger and I just stopped it.
Wow.
Yeah, just stopped it. Almost cold turkey.
Huh.
Yep. Very rarely do I get upset over anything anymore. I have a new attitude. It's, no harm, no foul.
No harm, no foul.
harm, no
I like
foul.
that. That's a great philosophy to live by.
Yeah. So how about you?
Wow. Well, for me, I also have my dad, and my dad came from. He was brought up in the city. His father came from next to nothing. He didn't have a whole lot growing up, but my grandmother, that my grandfather actually met here in Cleveland. They both came from these small, tiny towns in Italy that were actually very close to one another, called Faeto and Torremaggiore. And they met in Cleveland on my grandfather's third trip over with his brother who had the food store that's still around today. And third time, of course, he met my grandma. He stuck around, It doesn't matter how much travel and experience or how much we think we know, it's one good woman that will keep us right where we need to be. So, and they had a house on West 32nd and Clark Avenue near St. Rocco's, on the west side of Cleveland. And they had a tavern downstairs and they lived upstairs. And it was called Roma Villa. And yeah, everybody worked like right away. In fact, my grandfather, back then you could pull this off. He brought my dad to the license bureau when he was 15 instead of 16, said he was 16. Somehow he got a driver's license when he was 15. And to the day my dad died, I had to make sure they corrected it on his stone when he passed. He was actually born in 35, not 34, like his license said. And that was it, so he could help the family and help the family business. And that's when, so my father and my uncles, primarily under the leadership of my Uncle Mike, who was the oldest of the three. And he was, and he was someone that I aspired to. My dad was someone that I aspired to. My uncle in a business sense, but although my dad, working with my two uncles, found business success without being, without spending a day in college. He said, he went and played some pool at Baldwin Wallace once. That was it.
So he did go to college.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. He had a beer. So anyway, they did very well together. But on the business sense, it was him, my Uncle Mike. But on how to just navigate the world, it was really my dad. My dad had a wonderful way with people. He could have a meaningful conversation with the senator and the janitor and everyone's getting along and having a good time. That's like in a nutshell how we could describe it.
Two people cleaning up messes.
Two people clean up.
One
person
creates an
maybe-
audience.
There you go. One person cleaning up. It doesn't matter what station they're standing. I mean, he could talk to the governor. I remember he was at one of the properties that my dad ran. Governor Celeste, and then the next thing you know, he's turned into his this guy he knows who's a banquet bartender, and they're all having the same conversation. It was just the way he was wired. Everyone was on the same plane, so it was like kind of it was nice to see, and it was inspiring, and it was the kind of thing where I would say, you know what, I want to be more like that too. I want to be that comfortable and that confident when I'm talking to people that I can just seamlessly do that. And I'll never be as good as my dad was in that regard, but that's okay.
No.
Because I did the things that he wanted for me that he didn't have. College education, this sort of thing, be able to stand on my own 2 feet. But whether he realizes it or not, from the great beyond, he helped me more in a personal sense than he ever did with with anything but formal education. There is nothing that a formal education can give to someone that good mentorship can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think you take all the history and background that you have with your parents, and I encourage anybody to write into us about this, and you try to make sure you don't pass that on to your children if it's not a good thing.
Right.
And I tell my kids over and over, okay, you know who I am, you see me, eliminate out of your life what's not good in my life. Don't carry this on.
You bring up the temper and the anger, and that is something that my dad had. And he would get really upset, but when I talk about getting hit, I mean, I got spots on the butt because he caught me swearing in the front yard. I had it coming. That's a different story. He would grab me by the neck, but if I started beating up on my little brother, but who could probably beat me up right now. But anyway,
yeah.
But it didn't matter because there were faults. There were real faults with these people that we look up to, but. If we go back to the saints, every single one of them that we call a saint, they had their character defects and their faults, and I got mine. I'm working on mine. I used to have a real short fuse too. I mean, I was more of a hothead and impulsive, impatient, and
exactly,
and all kinds of things that I'm working on.
That's right. Life is just too precious.
Yeah.
And so we got to take it second by minute, by hour, by day, and we have to embrace it. And those things that upset us, and still get upset about things.
You got to right size them.
You got to right size them. I just don't do anything about it, or
Right.
if I have to talk to someone, I do, whatever. But no sense in going beyond that because I might not be here tomorrow.
Words of the wise. Another mentor of mine in the business sense, who taught me so much about hospitality, was a fella who's also gone now. His name was Terry Naris, and he was the self-anointed Polish prince, and a very close friend of my dad's. And this guy, his dad was in restaurants too, and they had Pete's Wayside Inn there on was that Ridgenbrook Park, I want to say. It's no longer there, but if you look, there's a concrete barrier that goes around that corner, and someone drew it up on there. And if you're in the
cool.
Cleveland area, you could see it says,
cool.
former home of Pete's Wayside Inn. It was legendary. So, but I'll never forget, I'm 15 years old. I'm going to be working as a busboy up at the hotel and in the restaurant. And I'm going in there and I'm hanging out with Uncle Terry, and life is grand. And he's like, all right, when I come over to the house, it's Uncle Terry. But when you're in this building, it's Mr. Naris.
Ooh.
And if you screw up, you're going to catch hell just like anybody else. And I'm like, okay. And, long story short, I screwed up. It probably took me a few days. I eventually did. Maybe that day, I don't know. I screwed up and I caught hell because I was in the wrong. And I had to just suck it up, and take it. And that was a big lesson for me because it's not always going to be an operational superior in hospitality. It's the guests. In life, it could be family members or friends. There are always going to be people that, through our best intentions, we can disappoint.
Mm-hmm.
And it's being able to take that disappointment, take the lesson, internalize it, not get defensive, and try to learn something from it. Try to take a lesson from it. And that's what I learned from him. And he told me, he's like, "Yo, you think that guest was bad?" I'm like, "Oh my God, that guest tore you a new one, man." He's just like, "Oh no, let me tell you a story." And these stories, and I have my own stories. I remember one guy who came in, and he was an older guy, and he used to come to a restaurant that I ran down in Akron, and I'm wearing my jacket, a nice little place, and he comes in, "How are you?" And he's talking to me, and he's like, "You remember my name?" And I'm just like, I hate when people do that, because you always feel on the spot. Now I'm going to be embarrassed. And usually people are pretty gracious about it, and they'll say, "Oh, it's Mr. Smith. I came in here the other day, and oh, of course, I remember you now. Yes, and I'm good with faces, and I screw up the names." And he goes, no grace from this guy. He goes, "My name is Mr. Ben Stout." I'll never forget. His last name was Stout. I'll never forget. Mr. Stout bitched me out. So
He sounds like a new upcoming album.
Oh yeah, he gave it to me, and I'm just like, "Well, I'm sorry, I apologize," and I'm trying to handle it as professionally as I can, and I'm like, "Holy crap!" Now after that, it's just like, now I'm using mnemonic devices. One is a bun, two is a shoe. This guy's name's Fred. No, don't forget, Fred's wearing red. I'm all this stuff. Now I'm neurotic about it, trying to remember everybody's name, but. The only reason was because I didn't get defensive. I didn't get hot and heated back at this guy. I just took I took my licks like a man, and I was better for
That's
it.
hilarious.
But that's true stuff.
If you had a takeaway from your uncle and your dad, what do you think it would be for you?
Oh, I think it would be, you want to treat everyone with dignity and respect, but don't let yourself become a fool over it. Give people the benefit of the doubt. Don't write anybody off unless they give you a good reason to.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to live by that. I try to be open and inviting, and I've employed a lot of people. I've worked alongside of a lot of people. Some I'm still, in contact with, some I'm not, and that's just the way life goes.
I think if I had one from my uncles, it would be their humbleness throughout all their success.
Mm-hmm.
If you met them, you would have no idea that they had two nickels to rub together.
Uh-huh.
They were not those people.
They were not flashy.
Not at all.
No,
But
and people who don't come from a whole lot, who gain a lot, if they have some spiritual fitness and some emotional maturity, that's what you'll get.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get people that remember their old friends.
That's right.
And will not write them off and
That's
want to
right.
hang out with them. And that was my dad too.
And I think if I take anything away from my dad, it was pride in his work.
Yeah.
Because if that leather chair right there, if it had a slice down the middle of it, and you don't think it can be repaired, and my dad made it look just like it looks now, you'd have no idea how he did it, but he would know how he did it, and he wanted to make sure it was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I always remember taking pride in my work.
Good stuff.
Almost to a fault, which is bad.
Well, hey, trust me, it could be something as complicated as making that chair look right again, or something as simple as remembering Mr. Stout.
That's right.
Whatever it is, there are lessons and people that we're grateful to. We stand on the shoulders of giants who made enormous sacrifices for us
On
to
down
be
the line.
for us to be sitting here. And for our mentors, there were other mentors.
That's right.
But I've always valued mentorship in ways that are large, like we're talking about here, and in ways that are small.
I would say one thing about, you mentioned priest, and you and I share a mutual priest that I think we could look up to until the day that he leaves this earth and called home, Father Walt.
Yeah, Father
St.
Walt
Basil.
Jenny. Yeah.
Just an amazing, amazing priest and man.
You talk about someone who is I don't want to say unquestioned, but I mean, just people follow this man as a leader. I mean, to the ends of the earth, yet he operates with such humility, open humility, yet
Crazy.
I mean, but just someone who has earned the respect of just I can't imagine anyone that has gotten to know him at any level at any level and has not respected him.
I'd say he's a living saint on earth, is what I would say.
I would agree.
Yep.
He's a wonderful human being.
Yep.
Awesome stuff.
Pretty cool.
And that's a good mentor for our spiritual selves.
Amen.
And that's where we want to come from at the end of the day, because a healthy spiritual self helps direct traffic, even when those mentors are here or when they're part of our memory. We have that we have those little gold nuggets.
That's right. So here's
that they
my
left
simple
behind.
prayer to the Lord every day.
Okay.
Lord Jesus, if you just keep Jerry out of the way of Jerry, going to be a great day.
I think we should wrap up on that note. That's awesome. Thank you so much. And in the immortal words of the of another man who has passed to the great beyond, Les Levine, of all the podcasts I've ever done, this has been the most recent.
You got to love it.
Thanks again. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day. Cheers. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you.
All right, buddy.